Hi guys, so my good friend Tom Hunt is I'll let you fill in the space there. Now, Tom was interviewed on Right Wing Talk Radio about left-wing lawyers following Priti Patel's new plan to stop immigration. Now, left-wing, I'm not sure what left-wing lawyers are. Perhaps Tom will enlighten us a bit about this. I know what lawyers are. They're generally people who have studied the law and defend people who have been accused of something. I know lawyers have their own biases. They have their own opinions on things, but I've never heard of left-wing lawyers. Anyway, this is in regards, of course, to people coming into the country from other parts of the world, which Tom has a major problem with. It's important to remember that this issue has been weaponized on numerous occasions by the Conservatives. And it's also interesting that the Conservatives have been in power for over 10 years, but this is an issue that needs to be continually dealt with. And, it's very simple. The knuckle draggers, the racists, the bigots need to be motivated to support the Conservative Party. And this is a very easy topic to convince them to get angry about something. It's very easy to convince them to get angry and come out and vote for the Conservatives. So the Conservatives always have this issue, on the back burner, ready to be pulled out at any moment in order to convince the public to be angry with left-wing lawyers or immigrants in general. Anyway, let's hear what Tom had to say.
If they've come over from France, which is a safe European country, sure, they are not a refugee.
Okay, that's a very blanket statement there. So if somebody comes into the country, they first make an asylum claim. The claim is then processed, and it's determined whether that claim was valid or invalid. If the claim was invalid, then the person is deported. Now, they're able to make appeals, which seem to be a big problem for the Conservatives. But they are able to make appeals, and if they've exhausted that appeal process, they are deported. Now, what's the problem with that? If somebody makes an asylum claim, it's processed. If they succeed, they stay in the country. If they fail, they're sent home. Now, where they come from is a factor, but it doesn't deny someone asylum status.
Agree.
France is a safe...
Agree. So we know what type of interview this is going to be.
Country. And if they've come directly from France, then they are not a refugee because they've come from a safe country.
This sounds like a very simple argument. Well, if they come from a safe country, then we don't... This is part of the criteria that's considered as part of somebody's asylum application. But it's not the only criteria. It seems on the surface, well, that's enough. If they come from France, then they should be sent back to France or wherever. The bigger problem here is that the Conservatives continually say that we need to change the law. We need to change the law. And they can change the law. But the problem with changing the law is that the UK has also signed up to international agreements. And you can't complain about people coming into the country illegally if you're willing to break international law, because if you change the law to an extent where it breaks an international agreement, then you're illegal. You're acting illegally. And it makes it very difficult for you to turn around and say, we don't want people coming into the country illegally, so we're going to implement legislation that is illegal under international law.
See, those lawyers you just mentioned, those I think Priti Patel called them not dodgy, but the troublemaking left-wing lawyers.
Once again, the lawyers are not the problem. If you have a problem with the law, you change the law. The problem with changing the law, as I said, is that it may come into conflict with international law. And then you are the pariah. You're the one breaking laws, which makes it difficult to turn around and say to other people, you can't come into the country because you're quote unquote illegal.
That they will say, well, actually, you are entitled to come from wherever you want to. It's good luck if you get there.
Well, I think we've seen with things like the Brexit referendum that there is a majority of people in this country who do not think it should be a free for all. They do.
God, they have to invoke Brexit. Every time something happens, they have to invoke Brexit. Who said so this is a very simple... they're approaching this argument in a very simple way. It's a complicated argument. They don't want to go into nuance. They don't want to go into detail. There are international agreements that the UK has signed up to. If you break those agreements, then you are acting outside the law. If people make an asylum claim and it's within the law to do so, then there's nothing you can complain about.
Do believe in borders. That is what they think. So I don't really care what these left-wing lawyers think. I also think these left-wing lawyers should reflect upon their action. And if they think...
What do you mean they need to... They are implementing the law. You are responsible for the law. You write the laws. You are the government. You're a Conservative MP. You're a member of the government's party. They decide the laws. It's not the lawyers that decide the law. You're criticizing the lawyers for doing their job, acting within their remit. This is insane. The lawyers are doing their job. Now, if you have a problem with their remit, then you change their remit. You change the law. But you understand that you can't change the law completely, because then you will come into conflict with international law, and then you'll be acting illegally. But you need to keep this argument warm, because you know you can use it to convince the racists, the knuckle draggers, the bigots around the country to come out and vote for you, to make them angry. Look at these damn left-wing lawyers making it difficult for Priti Patel to do her job, when Priti Patel is the one who's in charge.
That they're being moral. If they think they're being compassionate, my argument would be that they are doing the opposite. Because
now we get the compassionate conservative argument. The Conservatives are compassionate. The Conservatives care about poor people, the working class. They care about genuine refugees. They will say something, but then they'll act in a completely different way. These are the types of MPs who will vote to make it more difficult for refugees, for example, to work. They'll make it more difficult for people to reunite with their families, which has been proven that if they are able to reunite with their families, they're able to have a better, they're able to work better, they're able to stay in the country and develop, improve their lives, so they can become much more successful and much better citizens, and be able to contribute more to society. But the Conservatives vote against doing these things. They say we care about these things, but when it comes down to voting, they vote against it.
Because, of course, we do know that when it comes to those coming across illegally from France, that they are invariably young men in their 20s and 30s who can...
I don't even know. It's just so much crap here. They're coming across illegally. It's not illegal to cross the sea. It's not illegal. There's nothing illegal about that. If you're arriving in a country and you make a claim for asylum, that's not illegal. Please show me where it's illegal to claim asylum.
Afford to fuel an evil trade in...
Because they have to cross the sea in order to claim asylum. There isn't the possibility to claim asylum in France. If I say I want to claim asylum in the UK, I have to go to the UK. What do you want these people to do? They have to get to the UK and claim asylum. There's no, really, what does Tom want people to do? To claim asylum in France? To claim asylum in the UK in France? But there isn't that way. You can't do that. Or there have been organizations trying to allow that to happen, but people like Tom have criticized them.
Human lives. And they are, if a message goes out that it's worth trying, then what you're doing is you're fueling this evil trade, and you're also limiting our capacity to show compassion towards the most genuine of refugees.
See, this argument is there are genuine ones, but you don't know they're genuine until you process them. there isn't a capacity. We can only process this number. If you care about it, you can extend the capacity. But there isn't a huge capacity here that is, there isn't an overflow here of people coming into the country claiming asylum. This is a false argument. But once again, Tom says that they should, what does he want them to do? Does he want them to claim asylum in France? Claim asylum to the UK in France? Then allow that to take place. But you don't want that to take place. So the alternative is they have to they have to come to the UK. But as soon as they come to the UK, you say they're arriving here illegally. How somebody gets to the country doesn't make any difference, because when they arrive, they go to the local police station or they go to the local representatives and they claim asylum. Now, if there are people who are arriving and not claiming asylum, that's a different story. But that's not what he's complaining about.
Who are most generally fleeing areas of conflict where they are at risk of persecution. So the moral thing, in my view, is to have strong borders, and it is to have a proper approach to it.
What are you talking about, strong borders? This is about people arriving in the country, and you don't want them to claim asylum in the UK. Is that what you want? Is that your problem? You say, I don't want people to arrive in the country so they can claim asylum. Then that's not your... Then how do you determine whether someone's a genuine refugee or not until they actually arrive? Do you look through a telescope from the cliffs of Dover at France and say, okay, that guy, he's a legitimate refugee. That guy next to him is not. That one after him is. That one is not. Is that how you determine? From a distance? This is absolute insanity. The people have to arrive in the country. They make a claim. The claim is either valid or invalid. If it's valid, then they can take the next step forward after remaining in the country. If it's invalid, they can make an appeal. These are parts of the law, okay? Remember, people may not like it, but it's part of the law. If you have a problem with it, you change the law. The Conservatives are not all that gone on changing the law, because they know that if they changed it into a way that would actually work better, then they couldn't use this argument anymore. They couldn't use the threat of illegal immigration, quote unquote, because they need it to convince certain people to come out and vote for them. It's very simple.
To this, and that must involve sending out a message that do not try and come over here illegally, because under
once again, define illegally, coming into the country illegally. That's
in no circumstances can you or will you stay, and that needs to be the strong message.
Okay.
So we're going to determine whether somebody is illegal by how they arrive in the country. So their asylum process, it doesn't matter whether they claim asylum or not. If they arrive... So first his argument was if they come from France, then they're not refugees. So that eliminates one section. Then if they arrive how? If I arrive by plane, it's okay. But if I arrive by boat, that's a problem. Is that his argument? So if I want... So I can come from... So I must only arrive in the UK, not from France, even if it's by plane. I must arrive, and I assume Germany and Italy and Spain, any European country. Is there a list that Tom has of countries that you can claim asylum from and others you can't? You can't come from, actually, and claim asylum. I'd love to see Tom's list so we can see, okay, so if you come from Somalia, directly from Somalia to an airport in London, for example, that's okay, is it? I'd love just to know the criteria that Tom has. Probably Tom doesn't have any criteria. He just knows that this is an argument that creates a lot of emotion in many people, and they can pull it out from time to time to convince the public to vote for the Conservatives, even though the Conservatives have been in power for over 10 years. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?